This is one of the largest ever demonstrations by the farmers.
Thousands of Dutch farmers are rallying against the government on their tractors.
In the Netherlands, farmers are staging nationwide protests.
Italian farmers are rising up to protest in Rome. Quote, they are saying, "We are not slaves, we are farmers. We cannot make ends meet." But it's not just Italian farmers. Polish farmers are now protesting. So too are Spanish farmers, as too are disgruntled German farmers. This is taking place everywhere, and you can slate it all home to insane globalist climate change policies.
They're going to reduce 50% of the farmers here in Holland.
Sure.
And that's only the farming. But the truck drivers is going to come down, industry is going to come down, mechanics is going to come down, everything is going down.
Okay, my friends, let's take a closer look together. Welcome to Veracity. I'm your host, Michael Lewis. After failing to meet its 2030 environmental objectives, the Netherlands government is now forcing farmers to make heavy cuts. Farmers protested around the Netherlands as lawmakers voted on Tuesday on proposals to slash emissions of pollutants, a plan that will likely force farmers to cut their livestock herds or stop work altogether. The government says emissions of nitrogen oxide and ammonia, which livestock produce, must be drastically reduced close to nature areas that are part of a network of protected habitats for endangered plants and wildlife stretching across the 27-nation European Union. According to the World Economic Forum, the Netherlands, despite being a small country, is the second largest exporter of agricultural goods in the world. In 2021, it created a record by exporting agricultural goods worth 104 billion euros to top countries like Germany, Belgium, and the United Kingdom. And by 2050, the Netherlands alone will be feeding 10 billion people if it carries on with the same amount of production, which shows that the Dutch economy highly depends on its agricultural products, like dairy, vegetables, meat, and flour.
Holland is pretty crowded. Our land is quite expensive. Labor is expensive, so we have to be as efficient as possible. We have to be more efficient than others to compete, and that competition drives innovation and technology.
According to Dutch farmers who are protesting for their livelihood, the Netherlands government is trying to impose the Great Reset agenda that was originated in the June 2020 meeting of the World Economic Forum. During that meeting, the top business and political leaders worldwide expressed that COVID-19 crisis is the perfect opportunity to create a society and economy as per their own terms, which means handing over the power of an entire country into the hands of powerful business and political leaders for their own profit. And as the Netherlands is part of the European Union, it is now being forced to follow the environmental objectives set by them. And farmers who have spent generations living and taking care of their farmland are now being forced to even shut down their businesses. Dutch politician Thierry Baudet argued, how is it possible that in an age where everybody is talking about the possibility of food shortages, of insecure supply chains, the Dutch government is pursuing this policy which will lead to even more dependence on international supply chains, and thus uncertainty for the Dutch people? The answer is the people governing this country are following the script written by the EU to realize what they call a Great Reset. They want to make us dependent on the international supply chains. They want to weaken Dutch sovereignty and autonomy. Although the Russia-Ukraine war has alerted the European Union to unite themselves against any future aggression, this picture of the EU also hints at the growing mistrust between the European countries by controlling the supply chain in the hands of a few. It should also be noted that the current Prime Minister of the country, Mark Rutte, is more open to mass migration than protecting the rights of his own farmers. On the webpage of Rutte's party, they clearly mention that they are open to asylum if the person seeking asylum has exhausted all legal means. And in 2021, around 108,000 people migrated to the Netherlands. Baudet said, if you bring in 100,000 people a year net, then your nitrogen oxide emissions are going to increase anyways. Most of all, the Netherlands government is failing to notice the historical culture that persists in their farmland, whose disturbance could cause a rippling effect on many levels. Bodit said farmers are proud of their history with this land. They are proud family people who have their own business, who live off their own land, who have a connection to the history and to the nature of this country. And so they pose a direct threat to the globalist, post-territorial and post-identitarian agenda.
I'm motivated to take over the family business and take it to a whole new level, so that it is equipped for the future and my son can eventually take it in the future. My incentive is to farm in a sustainable and honest way, and not at the expense of the environment.
Another star witness says he's willing to talk with the committee investigating the U.S. Capitol attack.
Well, I'm never going to back down.
President Trump's former White House advisor, Steve Bannon, after snubbing the committee for months, says Trump, dissatisfied with how the hearings are progressing, has given him the green light to talk.
In November 2021, former White House advisor Steve Bannon said, "We are taking down the Biden regime. I want you guys to stay focused, stay on message, remember signal, not the noise." And on July 10th, Bannon agreed to testify in front of the January 6th committee, which has been trying its best to question him, but failed due to his executive privilege. Although the January 6th committee is not more than media propaganda, an example of integrity and respect was witnessed through the relationship between Trump and Bannon. Because for months, Bannon rejected orders from the January 6th committee to testify in public, as he was acting under the executive privilege of not sharing sensitive information with the public. Rejecting such orders was considered within his powers. However, the federal prosecutors argued that Bannon was not under the executive privilege because he was not working for the White House during the January 6th Capitol incident. This led to the issuing of contempt charges against Bannon by Congress, which according to the Department of Justice carries a punishment of 30 days to 1 year in prison and a fine of $100 to $1,000. Nevertheless, Bannon stood his ground and still followed Trump's order of executive privilege without fear. So why did he agree to testify in front of the committee? Well, it was only after receiving a personal letter from former President Donald Trump that Bannon agreed to present himself. Trump in the letter said, "When you first received the subpoena to testify and provide documents, I invoked executive privilege. However, I watched how unfairly you and others have been treated, having to spend vast amounts of money on legal fees and all the trauma you must be going through for the love of your country, and out of respect for the office of the president. Therefore, if you reach an agreement on a time and place for your testimony, I will waive executive privilege for you, which allows you to go in and testify truthfully and fairly." Bannon's lawyer Bob Costello also said, "While Mr. Bannon has been steadfast in his convictions, circumstances have now changed. Mr. Bannon is willing to indeed prefer to testify at your public hearing." However, Democratic Representative Zoe Lofgren has now suggested that Bannon will not be testifying in public, which openly raises serious questions as to the integrity of the proceedings. If every movement of the January 6th committee is airing live on social media, if the committee is so confident in proving Trump to be disobedient, then why can't these proceedings be held in public?
The Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol will be in order.
Lofgren defended herself by stating, "Ordinarily, we do dispositions. This goes on for hours after hour after hour. We want to get all our questions answered, and you can't do that in a live format." Moreover, Bannon also requested U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols to conduct the trial in public because he is afraid that a closely watched trial could make it difficult for the jury to be impartial. However, Judge Nichols rejected the request by stating he would consider this only if it proves it will be impossible to select an unbiased jury. As the trial is scheduled for July 18th, we believe the truth about Democrats will automatically be revealed at the right time.
U.S. border authorities have made record number of arrests. Over 200,000 migrants have been put behind bars. This is the highest monthly tally in 2 decades. Shelters are already overwhelmed.
That's the problem, Chief. For evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. That's exactly what's happening here. Good men are doing nothing. You are allowing illegal aliens to be dropped off in communities. This painful statement was made by a Border Patrol agent to the Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, for jeopardizing the country under the Biden administration. Because according to Customs and Border Protection, around 147,000 minors were encountered in the U.S.-Mexico border in 2021. And according to recent data from the DHS, around 161,000 minors are being encountered at the border. Moreover, the annual deportation rate has also dramatically fallen for the Biden administration. In 2019, around 267,000 illegal migrants were deported, and in 2021, under the Biden administration, only 59,000 illegal migrants were deported.
Just show up to the U.S.-Mexico border and you'll see the influx of migrants. In El Paso on Sunday, Border Patrol says they encountered 1,200 migrants in just one day.
Every day, 3, 4 buses of illegal immigrants or more show up in El Paso, Texas.
The situation has become much worse after it has been identified that most of these illegal migrants are part of human trafficking and other related serious crimes that are acting under the direction of smugglers. But why can't they be deported the moment they are caught at the border by the agents? Well, according to U.S. law, illegal migrants at the border cannot be sent back to their country of origin except if they are from Canada or Mexico. And according to 2021 data, most of these migrants are from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. But if you look closer, this proves how drug traffickers are taking advantage of our laws under the Biden administration. Former Border Patrol Chief Rodney Scott argued, the cartels have figured out how to leverage these gaps, and then they bring in the narcotics and the people that are being trafficked.
Near El Paso, Texas. It's not just desperate families turning themselves into the Border Patrol, but adult men running away from the agents.
Mostly adults who are not seeking asylum.
Now, with authorities tied up processing a historic number of migrants, more drug smuggling in the desert.
For the first time, fentanyl is being smuggled between the ports of entry.
Fentanyl being pushed through the desert around El Paso is up more than 355% compared to last year, and 4,000% more than 2018. What makes it so easy to smuggle?
The cartels find ways to intimidate migrants and find ways to illegally have them transport that narcotic.
Not to forget, according to the April 2021 report from the Federation of American Immigration Reform, around 15.5 million illegal aliens were already residing in the United States.
Terminating the deal, Elon Musk now backing out of his $44 billion agreement to purchase Twitter.
Elon Musk, his lawyer, has just sent a letter to Twitter to say the deal is off to buy the company.
After Twitter board failed to provide complete details about the number of fake accounts present on its platform, Musk decided to step away from buying Twitter. However, the good thing is that it managed to show us a glimpse of what is actually hiding behind the curtain of Twitter. You see, a few weeks back, Musk warned the Twitter board that he will step away from the deal if they fail to show him the actual data of the fake accounts. Now, during that moment, Musk was in an authoritative position where refusing his command could make or break the platform. Nevertheless, the Twitter board, which was bound to follow Musk's order, failed to provide all the details.
Quote, Twitter has failed or refused to provide this information. Sometimes Twitter has ignored Mr. Musk's requests. Sometimes it has rejected them for reasons that appear to be unjustified. And sometimes it has claimed to comply while giving Mr. Musk incomplete or unusable information.
If they did provide all the details of the fake accounts, Twitter shares would have immediately collapsed. Now, Truth Social CEO Devin Nunes said this: in terms of Twitter, it's never been, as I think Elon Musk has found out, it's just a global PR wire. It's not a social networking site. Musk couldn't validate how many real American and others were actually on the platform because there's so many bots and spam accounts. Furthermore, Trump, while promoting Truth Social in Alaska on July 9th, said,
I tell you what, Elon is not going to buy Twitter. Where did you hear that before? From me. From me. Fake accounts. She says fake. A lot of them. Nah, he's got himself a mess. You know, he said the other day, oh, I've never voted for a Republican. I said, I didn't know that. He told me he voted for me. So he's another shit artist, but he's not going to be buying it. He's not going to be buying it.
He got himself a mess, you know. He said the other day, I have never voted for a Republican. I said, I didn't know that. He told me he voted for me. So he's another explicitive artist, but he's not going to be buying it. Although he might later, who the hell knows what's going to happen? He's got a pretty rotten contract. I looked at this contract. Not a good contract. Thank you all for spending time with me. Now don't forget, watch this video right up here and then join me tomorrow at the exact same time so that we can discuss more truths happening in America. Have a good evening, everyone, and I'll see you next time.